Alright, today we're going to be going over how to insert pictures into a table using Microsoft Word. And before we get started, one thing I'd like to note is if the formatting looks a little different on my screen, it's because I'm using one of the older Microsoft Excel versions. However, don't worry about that. Everything is pretty much the same, just in a different type of format. So today we're going to be focusing, we have a Rick and Morty version, and I'm going to show you other pictures that you can use instead of that. But to kind of get started, the first thing we want to do is we're going to go to the orientation tab. We want to set it to landscape. And then we're going to make some adjustments to the margins. We're going to set both the top and bottom margins to 0.3. Then we're going to click on the paper tab. We're going to change the height to 6.5 inches. And we can click OK. All right, next up, we're going to switch our zoom to about 85% so we can see the whole screen. And then we're going to get our table set up. So the way that we can get our table, we're going to go to our Insert tab, find Table, and we're going to do a 3 by 3. So for this, we're going to be doing a Rick and Morty version. However, you can type in whatever you'd like. So I'm going to go with a Rick and Morty theme. So we have Rick, Morty, Portal, Beth. Can't forget Mr. Mises. And Pickle Rick. All right, so once we have these, all we're going to do is we're going to highlight both rows, go to Layout. We're going to click this center button. So this is basically going to align all the words that are in these boxes down here. And then once we do that, we're just going to adjust the height and the widths. So let's do a 3.5 inch width. And we can do, let's try 2.7. 2.73 maybe. There we go. So if your words do not fit in the center right now, that's because you haven't hit this align center button yet. So for instance, when I hit this button, notice how the words are changing. So we want to have these right in the center. And then from here, we can pretty much get started. So we're going to go and now we're going to insert all of our images. So we're going to start with the insert button. And basically, you can pick any type of image off of the internet. So just do a quick Google search and you can just right click and copy and save. That's pretty much how I got all my photos. Another option is you can actually go to this online pictures. And then you can actually just click any category you want and you can insert images directly from Microsoft Word. So for today, we're just going to be focusing on the Rick and Morty. So I have a bunch of these files saved. Notice how it's extremely large. All we have to do is adjust it. And we want to adjust it so the word is able to fit underneath the image. So notice how it's not directly underneath. All we have to do is hit the enter button and it's fixed. And we can actually increase it a little bit. And we're basically just repeating this process for all 6 of these boxes. So next we have Morty. Same thing, extremely large photo. Portal is next. Now, if you ever mess up like I just did, a quick fix is you can hold the Control Z and it will undo whatever mistake you just did. Insert Beth. Can't forget Mr. Mises. Bunch of them. And the last one is going to be Pickle Rick. Right. So for whatever reason, if the images are too large, they might actually expand onto a second page. So all you have to do is basically shrink the images. You can play around with them to make sure that they'll actually fit within the desired box. So the next part is pretty easy. We're just going to click on an image and we can go up to the Format tab. So anytime, notice how when I click off the image, that Format tab up here disappears. So I'm going to click back on an image and the Format tab comes back up. So we're just going to click that, click the drop down menu, and I'm going to go with this one. So we can repeat this process for all 6 of these images, or a quicker way is we're going to select the image, we're going to go to Format Painter on our Home tab, and it's going to replicate whatever we have done on the first image. So we're just going to repeat this process for all 6 of these images. And notice how part of the image is actually hanging off the screen, so we can actually adjust this by moving it over slightly. Notice how now it's actually in the center of the screen. And next, what we're going to do is let's highlight the entire image, and we're going to go to, let's see, Design. So if you're using a newer Microsoft Word, this tab is going to be titled Page Layout, but because mine is older, it's Design. And next we're going to be looking for this Page Borders. So you should see it in the Page Background category. So we're going to click that, and we're going to go down to the bottom here, hit the drop down, scroll all the way down. There's a bunch of different images we can use in here. And all this is, these are all borders. So let's use, I don't know, let's use, how about this one? And this gives you a preview of the image. And we just want to apply it to the first page only. And then we're going to hit OK. So notice how we have this nice, it's kind of like a default border for this page. So after we apply this, now we can change the background color. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight. I'm going to go back to my home tab. And then in this paragraph category, I'm going to click the drop down, and I'm going to go with any type of background you want, but I kind of want to go with this one. And we really want to make the names of the characters kind of pop. So let's see here. If you really wanted, you can mess around. You can change the font. You can even change the size of the letter. But notice if you go too big, then half of the portrait is going to go off the page. So let's just keep it, we can just keep it at 11 for now. And notice how there is some white space down here. So one of the ways that we can fix that is we can go back to our height and pretty much just play around with it until we get to the desired length. Notice how this white space is still here. So all I'm doing is I'm increasing the height, and now it fits. And if you really wanted to make it look pretty, you can make the words bold, change it to a bigger font like so, and you can actually save time and use this format painter, and you can just copy and pretty much just highlight every single name on here, and that's going to give you your final product. And again, you don't have to go with you don't have to go with Rick and Morty theme. You can choose any of those pre-selected photos that Microsoft Word comes with. And that's up here in the online pictures category. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please give us a thumbs up, and we'll see you next time.